Boom, and just like that, there we go. There's our starting $100.
But we still had 2 sales come through in the eBay store. So our total net profit is now $125.65. We need to spend some of that money. We need to start going out and finding some items so we can increase that number and take it even higher.
Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm on a journey to turn $100 into $100,000. We're gonna have a lot of wins along the way, but probably some fails too. If that interests you, make sure you hit subscribe down below.
What's up guys, welcome back to the Sweat Lodge, aka my garage, and welcome back to another low effort video. Like the intro said, I am on a journey to turn $100 into $100,000, and if that interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you can follow along. So to kick off this video, we need to first address our current balance. In the last video, we left off our balance at $125.65, but in the clips that you just saw a minute ago, I went to an estate sale and I spent all of that money, and now our balance is down to $0. Or is it? Last Friday, I took my good friend to his first estate sale, and while I was there, I did see a bundle of Wii video game items for $100. I took a bit of a gamble, a bit of leap of faith, and I did buy these items as well as some other items. Now, $100 for some Wii items is considered paying up, but after a quick sift through the box, I realized that I had to grab this bundle. And not to spoil anything, but make sure you watch all the way until the end to see if this paid off and to find out what our new balance is for the end of this week. Great, so with that out of the way, let's jump into the topic or the meat and potatoes of this video. This is actually part 2 in a series designed to help people who are interested in starting reselling as some sort of side hustle or business. If you missed last week's video, we covered all the things that I believe that you should have in order to start your online business. So if you missed that video, just click somewhere up here so that you can catch that video and watch it before this one. But back into the topic of this video. So in this week's video, I wanted to cover where are some of the best places to find products that you can resell online to make money. In my opinion, there's really the big 4. So who are the big 4, you might ask? Well, it just so happens that there are thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, online auctions, and retail arbitrage. I'm gonna briefly discuss each of these 4 and the pros and cons associated with each. So starting things off with number 1, thrift stores. If you're brand new to reselling, this is most likely where you're gonna begin your journey. If you have no idea what thrift stores are, these are stores that specialize in selling used goods at a pretty significant discount to buyers because these items were usually donated to that store. The most common names in this category are usually Goodwill or Salvation Army, but there's also usually some small independent thrift stores or chains of thrift stores in your area depending on where you live. So let's dive into the pros of thrift stores. Now the first pro is that thrift stores are typically abundant. They're usually everywhere, and depending on your area, there may be a lot or a good amount of them for you to visit. For example, here in the Phoenix area, it seems like there's an endless supply of Goodwills that you can visit. The second pro is the availability. Now, most of these stores are usually open 7 days a week, as well as a little bit later into the evening, like 9 p.m. So if you work some sort of job during the day, most oftentimes you can hit up a few thrift stores on the way home or during your lunch break. This really works to your advantage because it means that you can visit these stores at your convenience. And no matter what your schedule is, you can probably find some time to go out and source for some products. Now, the third pro for thrift stores is the mixed bag of products that they sell. What I mean by that is that they don't specialize usually in just one type of item, such as like tools or shoes. Usually most thrift stores carry kind of a wide range of anything. So if you have any familiarity with any sort of niche or product that you're familiar with, you can usually go hunting for this specific product in the thrift stores that you visit. So now let's talk about some of the cons when it comes to thrift stores. The first con, and this is usually in my opinion, but many of the thrift store chains such as Goodwill, the quality of the products is typically pretty low. If you find any sort of video game or electronic, or usually all the pairs of shoes are pretty beat up and pretty well used. It seems that they take anything that they receive and try to throw them on the shelves. And therefore, usually when you find products that are in there, it's very seldom that you're gonna find products that are brand new. In most often cases, they're pretty beat. Now, the second con, and specifically this goes to Goodwill, depending on where you live, usually the prices for the items within the thrift store are all over the place. You might go to a thrift store on one side of town and shoes might be priced around $3 to $6 per pair, and then you go to the same chain on the other side of town and those same shoes could be priced as high as $20. It doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of consistency. It just depends on the person who's in the back that receives the donations and their knowledge of how they should price these items. Now, the third con is, again, a little bit more my opinion, but in terms of profitability of the items that you'll find in thrift stores, I think it's a little bit towards the lower to medium end. Now, don't get me wrong, there certainly are opportunities to find a diamond in the rough, so to speak. I certainly have found items such as high-end tennis rackets or even high-end tactical gear, which was priced extremely low and sold for extremely high. Again, I call it a diamond in the rough because I think that the person in the back who received these items and priced them probably didn't know what they were, because they have to try and price everything. So a lot of the thrift stores and the big chains, you're probably doing a lot of searching for a diamond in that rough. But again, most of the products that you're gonna find are gonna be lower tier priced items with lower profit margins, usually $10 to $20 on average as a profit margin per item in the store. If you are a brand new reseller, again, I do recommend that this is probably where you start, because with the availability as well as the ability to take your time going through all the products, I recommend that you just sit there, look at items that catch your eye, look them up on eBay, see what the sold comps are, and that way you start to build your knowledge base of what items you should be looking for, and you start to develop an eye for items that might have high profit. Now let's move on to the second source, which is garage sales. If you do a search here on YouTube for more than 30 seconds, you're gonna come across a plethora of videos that show people going to garage sales and sourcing for product to sell online. In terms of pros, they're kind of the complete opposite of thrift stores, starting with the quality of the products that you buy. Typically, I find that the quality of items at garage sales are usually good to excellent. They're pretty aware that they want to sell items that aren't super beat. Usually they'll donate the items that aren't great, and then the items that do have some sort of life left in them, they'll usually try to sell at their garage sale. This is great because usually I'll find the same items I can find in thrift stores, but again, in a much better overall condition. The second pro is the prices. I think most garage sales that you visit are gonna have pretty good prices, as well as the prices tend to be negotiable. You can typically try to get a little bit of a discount, somewhere around 20 to 30%. So if an item's listed at $10, you can usually offer anywhere from $6 to $8 and probably find some sort of middle ground in between there. I don't know if this is just me, but if I do find an item that I know is worth quite a bit of money and they're already asking a very good price, I typically don't even try to negotiate on the price. If they say it's $10 and I know that it's worth much more and I can easily sell it for more, I'll just accept the $10 and give them their money right then and there. The third pro is the profitability. Now, most of the garage sales that I go out to usually have items that are within that medium to high profit range. Between the condition as well as the pricing, usually the profit margins are much higher, and you can find items anywhere from $50 to $200 in profit. All right, so let's move on to some of the cons when it comes to garage sales. And the first is the availability. Now, unlike thrift stores, garage sales really only take place on 2 days of the week, which are Fridays and Saturdays early in the morning. So if you have any sort of early morning sport, or if you want to sleep in, sorry, not gonna happen. You gotta get up and you gotta be the first one to these garage sales. If you're not the first one, chances are some of the best products are already picked through and already gone by the time you get there. So this does require a high level of commitment in terms of getting up early, spending your weekend mornings going to garage sales. The second con is competition. Now, when you're out at garage sales, you're not just competing against the time or the clock to get to the next one, you're also competing against a lot of other people that are out garage selling. It's not uncommon to pull up to a garage sale, at least here in Phoenix, and there's a line of cars already there and a bunch of people sifting through everything. And so, you know, again, you're competing against everybody else that's out there on the weekend trying to strike a deal. The last con when it comes to garage sales are that they aren't just as easy to find as typing into Google Maps. garage sale near me. Usually you'll have to use third-party apps, or at least you'll have to drive around looking for the green and pink signs that say garage sale to find these. My key recommendation is that if you see a sign for a community garage sale on a specific weekend, this is probably your best opportunity to get the most items in the shortest amount of time by hitting up a community garage sale. I love community garage sales. Great, so let's move on to the third source, which are estate sales and auctions. Estate sales are a lot like a garage sale, but they're just a little bit different in that you're usually entering the person's home and there's a much larger inventory of items that are for sale, because typically you have to be delicate with the situation, because sometimes somebody may have passed away, or they may have picked up and just abandoned their items, or this is somebody who's moving that doesn't want to take all their items with them, and so they'd rather just sell it than take it all with them. So you just want to be sensitive to the fact that it may be a hard situation. So again, just use your judgment when it comes to estate sales. Now, estate sales are interesting because they do run throughout the week, usually Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. If it's an estate sale that's multiple days, you really need to be there on the first day and be one of the first people in the door. The good news about estate sales is you can use websites such as estatesales.net to view some of the estate sales in your area, as well as you can see the picture of the items that are in this particular estate sale ahead of time. So a lot of the times what I'll do on like a Thursday night or a Friday night is sit there and kind of look at all the estate sales that are in my area and start scrolling through some of the inventory that they have and seeing if I catch anything with my eyes that is interesting to me. Most of the time, just by kind of glancing through the photos, you can tell if the items are cheap, or there's not many, or there's not a whole lot for sale, or if the photos look crammed and this place looks almost like a hoarder's house, that's a good thing. This is exactly how I found that box of Wii game items this last weekend when I was on, it was Thursday night. I was searching for estate sales in my area, and I was going through the photos, and I saw a bunch of items that caught my eye, such as some vintage Pyrex, which my friend ended up purchasing, as well as the video game lot, some VCRs, just overall some items that I knew had really good profit to them. In terms of competitiveness, this is probably gonna be one of the sources that has the highest level of competition. When you show up, most oftentimes you'll need to show up at least 30 minutes to an hour early. And when you show up, so at least in my area, I don't know if this is nationwide, but a lot of the people who show up who frequent estate sales like to leave a bag or something to reserve their spot in line, because again, it's key that you're there as early and you're one of the first people through those doors. In terms of overall craziness, I would say estate sales offer one of the highest level of adrenaline rushes when it comes to reselling. As soon as they open the doors, most people have in mind an item that they're specifically looking for, and usually they'll rush to try and find that item. So again, you're competing against other people who also might want that item that you're looking to purchase. In terms of pros, like I mentioned previously, the ability to preview some of the items that are in that estate sale and make some sort of judgment as to the quality of that estate sale is super valuable, because it allows you to save your time and lets you be very targeted with which estate sales you want to go to. The second pro is that the overall quality of the items at the estate sale are again very high. In fact, they're usually a little bit better than yard sale items, as they typically aren't items that are just discarded or have been sitting there collecting dust. They're items that were well taken care of, or collectible items such as like vintage Pyrex, for example. Which leads me to the third pro, because in terms of profitability, I think items at estate sales typically hold the highest level of profitability. So on average, you're gonna find items that at least have a minimum profit of somewhere between 50 all the way up to hundreds of dollars, based on my experience. Now let's move on to some of the cons when it comes to estate sales. So like I mentioned earlier, the competitiveness across all of these different sources, I would say at estate sales, is the fiercest. So you really need to know what you're looking for, and you need to know how to navigate estate sales. The second con when it comes to estate sales are typically the prices. Similar to thrift stores, the prices can kind of be all over the place. And with estate sales, the prices are typically not negotiable. So whatever the sticker says on the item is what you're gonna pay for it. You usually can't negotiate down. Sometimes they'll do like a 50% off the next day, or like a 75% off on the last day, but by then most of the items are already gone. Lastly, the third con when it comes to estate sales is the requirement to commitment that you must have. Like garage sales, you need to spend your mornings going to these estate sales ahead of time and placing yourself or reserving your spot in line, which usually means you're showing up an hour early and waiting in your car for the estate sale to open. It's not usually a matter of, is there an estate sale available this weekend? It's more so, which estate sale should I go to? I did categorize auctions as part of this source as well. Auctions are very similar to estate sales and oftentimes go hand in hand. Many of the estate sale companies out there will actually run an online auction for the items that they're selling, but there are also websites specifically designed for auctions that you can find products on to resell. I haven't had a ton of experience with this personally. The benefit there is that obviously the auctions online you can do from home and doesn't require you going out, but usually prices do get driven up to a point where there's not a whole lot of profitability, but maybe we'll reserve that for a video in the future. For the fourth source, let's talk about retail arbitrage. Of the four, this is probably the one that requires the highest level of skill, if not knowledge base on what items are profitable. If you don't know what retail arbitrage is, this is when you go out and purchase a product at retail price and resell on a different platform or the same platform for a spike up. Please don't get this confused with scalping. That's not really retail arbitrage. That's just flat out scalping. Some examples of what this might look like would be going to your local Ross and finding a pair of Nike shoes that are priced maybe for around $30 at Ross, but are selling at around $120 on eBay. So let's talk about some of the benefits when it comes to retail arbitrage. Now, the first is availability, because out of all four, this is the one that has the most availability. You can do this 24/7. Whether you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you're just sitting on the couch, it's as quick and as easy as doing a scroll through eBay or whatever site that you're looking at to find products that you think are undervalued that would sell higher on another platform or the same platform. In terms of effort, this might be the lowest effort or the easiest thing to do if you're successful at doing it. What I mean by that is that you don't need to get in your car and drive somewhere and spend hours digging through product or garage sales or estate sales or thrift stores. Now, the third benefit to retail arbitrage is that in terms of creativeness, this maybe has the widest opportunity for you to get creative. There's really no end to where you can usually commit retail arbitrage and make profit. But again, you have to really know what you're doing, and this is usually reserved for the most skilled resellers. So let's go into the cons, which is number one, like I've been saying this whole time, you really need to know what you're doing. You need to know your niche. Are you somebody that knows Pokemon cards really well? Are you a sneakerhead and you know sneakers and you can do this? Again, you have to have a niche that you know a lot about and be very confident that the item that you're paying up for, or usually full retail, you can sell for more on another platform. The second con is usually the amount of capital that this requires. So oftentimes people who are doing retail arbitrage are buying a full inventory from one store and then selling it on Amazon. So it usually requires quite a bit of capital up front or cash to purchase that inventory to then turn around and sell on another website. And lastly, the third con is the risk associated. Just because you found an item that you know quite a bit about and you're pretty confident will sell for more on another website, you still need to be prepared that it may not happen, and you will need to take that loss if you're not able to then turn around and resell that item. And as a bonus resource for sourcing, you can use sites such as Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or even Craigslist, which I consider to be somewhat of like an endless garage sale that never stops happening. With the apps that are out there now, the ability to search for used goods on these apps, as well as the ability to set notifications, pro tip, really makes this a good resource for you to basically hawk and wait for somebody to sell something at a low price that you can then buy and turn around and sell on a site like eBay. And that's it. Those are what I consider to be the four major areas for sourcing. If you've had luck somewhere else, or if you think that I missed one, please let me know in the comments below. And to wrap up today's video, like I said, I haven't forgotten. Let me tell you how that estate sale find worked out. So after bringing home that bin of Wii games and consoles, it turned out that there were roughly 16 games in there, 2 consoles, and a bunch of controllers. But within that stack of games, there was one game in particular that was pretty rare, and that was a GameCube Game Boy like startup disc, which to my surprise was worth quite a bit of money. Within less than 24 hours of listing this specific game, it sold for a whopping $169 on eBay. Now, I was maybe in like $1 on the game, and to have it turn around and sell for $170 is exactly why I think estate sales are super fun to go to and try and find product. I haven't even finished listing all the items that I purchased that day, but from what we did buy already, 10 of the games have sold, and so now our current net balance is over $300. So in 1 week, we tripled our balance from $100 all the way up to $300. So that's gonna wrap up this week's video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next Friday for part 3 in the series, where I walk you through exactly how to list a product from start all the way to finish. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you later.